味しくなるって言ってたじゃない。
それ私が言ってたんですけど。
素敵じゃない。コクマロ出ちゃったもんね。
主婦の声でできた美味しさ。
Also, thank you, my friends, for finally remembering my phone number. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Was the exclusion of John Paul Jones an obvious sort of...
Shut up. No. An obvious. Oh, it don't matter. It's just that Jonesy was busy and we're busy.
Sound good? It is good. Nabisco shredded wheat. It's just naturally good.
Okay, so I'll begin this episode with a question. Remember Phil Johnstone? You know, Phil Johnstone, the guy who co-wrote many songs from Now and Zen, Manic Nirvana, and Fate of Nations? Keyboard player and third guitar on stage for Robert's 1993 tour. Co-writer of Mistress of Versuli from Alana Miles' third studio album, a man of many talents. Okay, so Phil Johnstone released an album in 1996 by the name of The Chernobyl Poppies. If you want to know where Robert Plant could have gone after Fate of Nations, this is the album for you. Fun fact, many songs were engineered by the same guy from Fate of Nations, Mike Gregovich. A fantastic record that reveals why Johnstone was a key contributor for Plant, and in many ways, it's the greatest 90s album Robert Plant ever made. Phil Johnstone played several instruments and sang lead vocals on many tracks. But wait, it gets better. Look at the personnel. Kevin McMichael on guitars, Charlie Jones on bass, Michael Lee on drums, and Pete Thompson on drums and vocals for 2 tracks. Thompson was the drummer on The Sporting Life alongside John Paul Jones and the Amanda Gallas. Is this a killer credit list or what? There's another drummer, Ricky Cook, but I found no information on him. If anyone knows, please share it in the comment section. The album gets stranger as it was a mail order only release back in 1996. I found a copy on eBay for $80. That plus shipping makes it an impossible purchase at this moment. Both streaming versions on Spotify and Amazon Music are incomplete, as the 2 songs with Pete Thompson were not included for some reason. I sense copyright issues with Thompson. I share the Spotify link in the description below so you guys can experience this forgotten masterpiece. If anyone has the original release, let me know via email. I need that record. It is an album with smart production, tasteful arrangements, clever sonic design. It deserves way more recognition. There's not a single bad song here. Picture Robert Plant singing over these tracks and you'll be smiling, thinking of an alternate 90s universe. Phil Johnstone passed away on May 31st, 2021. May he rest in peace. You gave great music to the world and saved Robert's career with Heaven Knows and Ship of Fools.
True Reach Savings. Save 25% on all types of U.S. calls on your AT&T phone bill when you spend just $25 a month. Proofs on the bill.
Ooh, I like the sound of that.
Savings on all kinds of calls. That's your true choice. AT&T.
Page and Plant's tour continued with 9 dates in Japan. Yes, they made a brief TV appearance in 1994, but that didn't count as an official concert. While Jimmy played some dates in 1993 with David Coverdale.
Come by. Thank you for a wonderful evening. Let's kick the shit
Robert had not performed on stage in Japan since early 1984. If you can, please revisit these shows with Richie Hayward on drums. You can watch the story of this tour on my 1980 series. A special 1996 Japanese tour book was made with concert information and promotional photographs, including a throwback to their Led Zeppelin days. While I recognized most of them, there's a shot of who seems to be Robert Plant sitting down on stage. The drums on the back look like Bonham's 1969 kit. Also included were shots of their recording session in Wales and their Led Zeppelin catalog because, you know, this wasn't a Led Zeppelin reunion, but hey, there's always time to change the road you're on, right? I find it interesting that neither Plant nor Page's post-Zeppelin discography was featured outside of their Unledded project. John Paul Jones's number wasn't there either. Now, for all the obsessive-compulsive subscribers out there, the tour book has names for the guys behind logistics and management. I won't go through each one, but here's a few. The role of tour manager went to Rex King, quite a familiar guy in the Led Zeppelin story. Rex was John Bonham's personal assistant on Led Zeppelin's 1977 tour up till the end. He was one of the guys who helped Bonzo get to bed on September 24th, 1980. King also assisted Robert Plant on the early days of his Pictures at 11 project. He was the one who introduced Plant to manager Bill Kirbishley. Tour accountant duties went to Richard Paco Zimmer. He's done it all: concert promoter, manager, tour manager, and in 1996 he was the numbers guy for Page and Plant. He began working in the late 60s as tour manager for Vanilla Fudge and Cactus, sharing the bill with Jimi Hendrix and Led Zeppelin. As concert promoter, he was involved in shows by ELP, Yes, The Kinks, The Who, the Allman Brothers, Little Feat, Earth, Wind & Fire. The man knew the business very well, and yes, he was a member of the Robert Plant organization since 1988. Here's Paco next to Bill Kirbishley, Richie Sambora, and the infamous Doc McGee, the many faces of show business. Rangi Williamson worked as Page's personal assistant. His previous work included Iron Maiden as personal assistant to Steve Harris from 1984 until 1990. He was also band security for Metallica in 1991 and 1992. In 1993, he became personal assistant and security for Jimmy Page on his Coverdale Page mini tour. The rest of the band remained the same, and the Egyptian Pharaohs gave the Unledded tour its signature sound next to Nigel Eaton's Hurdy-Gurdy. Hossam Ramsey released 12 albums between 1994 and 1996. His association to Page and Plant greatly prospered his business and brought awareness of Middle Eastern music to new audiences. World Tour 1996 and the 6-night concert series at Budokan was a sign of the enormous popularity of Led Zeppelin's legacy in Japan. Other dates in Osaka, Nagoya, and Fukuoka were venues Page and Plant hadn't played before, except for Osaka, where Page performed with David Coverdale. Budokan had a busy schedule in 1995 all the way through February 1996. Kiss, R.E.M., Elton John, The Stone Roses, Sting, Eric Clapton, Blur, Lenny Kravitz with 4 nights at the venue, Chicago, Cyndi Lauper, Prince with 4 dates as well, and Bjork. Led Zeppelin played Budokan a total of 4 times on their 1971 and 1972 visits. The Budokan dates were very special because of the first live performances of T41. 4 takes from this Presence number were played on February 8th through February 13th. Technically a tour debut and a long-awaited track since the 1994 version, the Rain Song was performed twice. One original composition from Unledded was performed on all 6 shows in the Ways of the Truth Explodes. Last but not least, Dancing Days came back for 2 dates after October 1995. Outside of this, the setlist and moments were pretty much the same as their shows in Latin America. Fun fact, February 13th saw the performances of both Tangerine and Friends. Last time these were played on the same set in Japan was on Led Zeppelin's September 29th, 1971 show at Festival Hall, Osaka. Based on a quick video snippet of Jimmy's guitars for the tour, I can see 2 Telecasters, 2 Stratocasters including the Lake Placid Blue, you know, the one he's had since 1975. Also there's the famous EDS 1275 double neck, 2 Gibson Les Paul Transperformance, his B-Bender Les Paul Cherry Red, a black Les Paul, and all the way to the back, his number 1 and number 2 classic Les Pauls. He also carried acoustic guitars as well.
drink of the day for the Egyptians. Wonderful one. Quiet! Wonderful one. It's just been rearranged today by Mr. Plant and Mr. Page. And I think they shortened it out a little bit. And they kind of like moved things around a little bit. However, the feeling of the actual song itself is a lot more powerful, and it's very nice of them to write a song about me. Wonderful one.
Japanese audience are different. The best audience we've ever had were the beep Mexicans.
Now some notes I made from the video performances. Starting off their February 6th date with Babe I'm Gonna Leave You was so refreshing after a gazillion dates of the Wanton song. It gave Plant a chance to slowly build up. This approach worked very well and was a smart choice for the second night at Budokan. The small vacation after the show in Brazil worked for Plant. He looked more relaxed and regained the spotlight next to Jimmy. Both guys steal the show here. Page's guitar work was splendid. No need for a second guitarist. He was back at the 4-piece sound that made him famous. Nigel Eaton deserves high praise for his hurdy-gurdy technique. We Zeppelin fans loved the sound as it was featured in the Song Remains the Same movie with Jimmy at the lake. Dancing Days was a very effective piece, making great use of the orchestra with the Middle Eastern scales of the original song. Michael Lee, an amazing drummer, remained the most consistent team player of them all. The Truth Explodes was back with the drum loop and all. I must say, I was able to finally enjoy this song so much more than the unleaded version. It's repetitive, yes, but the energy here was special. Now, more original material by them or their solo career stuff would have made this tour so much better than just revisiting Led Zeppelin stuff. The chemistry was there. Why limit this to a revival fest without being a reunion? Oh yeah, that's right, money. The rest of the show, well, I've gone through so many hours of the 1995 and 1996 tour, I've memorized them by now. Nevertheless, the quality of the recording really gives an intimate angle into the show's dynamics that was not present in the Latin America portion. I still don't like Michael Lee's snare drum. It's actually more noticeable in these Japanese shows. Tangerine came back for the first time since October 1995, a short but memorable performance. Third night at Budokan, February 8th. Celebration Day opened the show to great vibes. You can't go wrong with this one. Although Michael Lee rushes a bit, it gets Plant comfortable enough to go for the raspy voice with ease. Robert is wearing a shirt with an image of Egyptian singer and composer Mohammed Abdel Wahab. Among his works were 10 songs he composed for singer Kulthum. As I mentioned on the 1995 episode, the opening intro for these Page and Plant tours was extracted from one of her works. One of the highlights from the show, the Rain song. Jimmy started off inspired, and then this happened. Then we get a playful Robert Plant revenge as he doesn't come in where he's supposed to, leaving Jimmy to play it on his own. Page almost makes a mistake again as Plant finally decides to sing. I can see why this was not performed in 1995 on such high-stakes concerts. It's too delicate to just press the button and get into the whole thing. I'm not saying Jimmy couldn't, but with the onstage energy he carried throughout these tours... Yeah, that's the train horn in the back. Sorry guys, let's wait for the train to pass, and I apologize for the city sounds and my voiceover. So again, I'm not saying Jimmy couldn't play the Rain song, but with the energy on stage from these tours, he was more into the electric guitar and folk rhythm configurations. The Rain song on acoustic is a different kind of challenge that Page had no previous practice outside of August 1994. Some things you can't rush, even if you wrote the song. I will take a guess here, but I'm sure Plant got a word with him after the show.
Well, I don't know whether you could spot all the mistakes there. It would sound good on bootleg, and this is the place to get it. It's great to be back.
Okay, now to the second highlight from the evening. T for One. The mighty blues number from Presence makes its Page and Plant live debut on stage. You can tell there's gonna be a mistake from the get-go. Michael Lee adds a weird snare accent that throws Page off, and they miss the cue in the most glorious way possible.
This is the rehearsal for the bootleg to the song. This is the first time we've ever done the song, ever. So maybe if you know how it goes, it might help.
Second time around, they almost screwed up again, but saved it. The transition between the hard rock part and the slow blues is tricky. It's a classic Zeppelin mind game right there. Recording my virtual collaboration with the great George Fludas on drums reminded me of just how intricate this blues number is. You can check out our version here on my channel. You can find the link in the description below. So back to T for One 1996. I hate to say it, but this is the one song you really miss John Paul Jones and John Bonham. Charlie Jones's sound is just flat, and Lee had a hard time with the laid-back swing groove. They seem to want to play Since I've Been Loving You. T for One is an exercise in restraint. Now on the Zeppelin side of things, Robert and Jimmy nailed the song with style. Guitar and vocals are excellent. It's back to the Malibu and Musicland sessions of 1975. The orchestra certainly adds textures and depth, but in my opinion, it takes away some of the light and shade essence because of its somewhat corny and low-hanging fruit approach to arrangements. This is what happens when it's not John Paul Jones writing the score for it. Page's work here was stellar.
guitar, Mr. Jimmy Page.
So what makes T for One so complicated? Well, let's take a look at the music. This is the bass part of the song, by the way. I've circled the parts of the riff where the main accent in F major happens. As you can see, we have a classic example of a displaced rhythm against a 4x4 beat. You've heard this on Kashmir, and it's one of the signature moves from latter-day period Led Zeppelin. The pain point for Michael Lee and Charlie Jones was counting the stuff on bar 7. This is a 7/8 meter that starts with a quarter note accent. Then we are left with 10/16 notes that make up for a 5/8 meter that moves right into a 12/8 blues ballad drum beat at half the original speed from the intro. So you not only have to count, but also hit the brakes hard. As a musician, I can tell you this is a progressive rock moment. Presence remains Jones and Bonham's advanced rhythm showcase. Fun fact, although it's a sad fact really, Jonesy and Bonzo didn't get any writing credits on Presence outside of Royal Orleans. Everything else was credited Page and Plant. Fourth night at Budokan. So they opened the show with a Rain song. Once again, Jimmy got sticky fingers on this one. I'm not sure Robert Plant enjoyed this really. Maybe Page was playing a delicate guitar and his hands were not used to these dynamics, I guess. Maybe those dim lights made it hard to watch the fretboard.
It is the springtime of my life.
Now, just for the record, Michael Lee's drumming on the tour had great stamina and power. He was an animal. But his playing with brushes on this song is somewhat rushed. It was not his strength to go real slow. We get to the closing section and Jimmy nails it. No mistakes. Second track, No Quarter, shows Jimmy is more comfortable playing acoustic material that relies on hard strumming. So I think this proves my point that he was used to the hard attack on the acoustic rather than the soft dynamics that the Rain song required. Past many numbers, they went for T for One for a second time. I love Plant's brutal honesty on the intro. It's a very personal song for him, and the least his buddies could do was to get it right.
This song, this next little song is comes from like about no, not quite but close, however. This song we attempted to do last night with disastrous effects. It's our second attempt to do it in the history of mankind. So let's all keep our fingers crossed for the first minute and a half. It's sorry about that.
Michael Lee slowed down the opening tempo, but the transition wasn't quite right. There was some communication breakdown on the accents. Props to the local Japanese orchestra. This Zeppelin B-side is a bittersweet moment from the tour. On the one hand, you thank them for this rare track, but at the same time you accept this was not the right band for going slow and deep. Yeah, I know, that's what she said. The T for One effect changes your perspective on these shows. All the other stuff sounds somewhat superficial, you know? The Unledded product was so well rehearsed, it lost some of the fun and danger that trying out deep cuts always brings. The live mistakes in the Rain song and T for One probably reminded Robert Plant of the fishbowl sensation that not even the Egyptian ensemble could ease by now. He was trapped in nostalgia, and he could hear the weaknesses of what was and could never be again Led Zeppelin.
To a fast start on the comedy meter also during the player introductions. Check this out as Penny Hardaway was introduced to the crowd. Michael unzipping the warm-up pants.
Well, and Penny, not holding any grudges, has been looking for Michael every time out on the floor, passed up a layup to dish off an easy one.
Richmond not able to Now, this called on Peyton.
This is an explosive Jordan, though. Still going for that slam dunk. I mean, that head was right around the cylinder.
Hanley has outscored the West 27-13.
February 12th saw the performance of T-for-1 for the third time. Here's a quick audio summary. They just couldn't get the transition right. Michael Lee came in early. And yes, again, that's what she said. February 13th, 6th and final night at Budokan. The band opened up the set with Thank You. The song was the opener on 18 Days from the 1995 tour. Okay, so the fourth take on T-for-1. How did it go? Well, Michael Lee tried to keep the count on his snare, and once again, the same mistake, but at least he didn't lose the beat. Maybe slightly cutting his hair for this part of the tour affected his abilities. Who knows? Robert Plant shines on these versions. The emotional connection he has with this song is the opposite end of Since I've Been Loving You. This is a blues number with very specific memories for him. You can check my Making of Present series to see what I mean.
On guitar, Mr. Jimmy Page.
17 years after his last performance on August 4th, 1979 at Knebworth, 10 Years Gone was back at Osaka on February 15th. Page and Plant delivered a very good rendition of this physical graffiti number with the added feel of the symphonic orchestra. Like I said in episode 7 of this series, why the hell wasn't this on Unledded? Jimmy's Telecaster with a B-bender was a nice throwback to his days with the firm as well. This was unfortunately the first and only time this song was performed by Page and Plant on their entire concert runs, including 1998.
Everybody say, woo!
February 17th, Nagoya. A guitar and vocals only version of Tangerine was performed to great results. The song managed to bring the past and present to a special place of acceptance and forgiveness. The Rain song was played for the third time on tour. While Jimmy still battled with the guitar parts, things ran smooth on this one.
Would you welcome the All Nippon Orchestra?
T for One made its last ever appearance on the setlist, and man did they finally nail the hard rock number. That transition into the blues section was done properly. Bravo Michael Lee for finally hitting the right accents on this one. I bet Robert Plant was happy. Last two shows in Osaka, February 19th and Fukuoka on the 20th, didn't have new songs, but still delivered powerful renditions of the Unledded tour formula. It is worth mentioning the show at Fukuoka for being the very first time the Song Remains the Same and the Rain song were played back to back next to each other, as found on the Houses of the Holy album and their tours from 1972, 1973, and 1975. Also at Fukuoka, Plant added a small bit from the Crunch on the Whole Lotta Love medley. Wonderful One from Unledded was also played on that evening. As you would think, listening to similar setlists is exhausting, but does provide the best perspective as to how these guys must have felt going through the same stuff night after night. Yes, you can switch the opening numbers, but the rest is just the same script. The show must go on. They got paid good money, but the mental side of things was real. Everything becomes a routine, and here lies the challenge of keeping frame. They are humans after all, and all humans have a breaking point.